this gospel.
God's love is not based on you, but it's based on grace.
God's grace always comes with a purpose.
For the purpose that our lives would glorify Him.
Hi, aloha. My name's Tracey, and I'm from Lahaina, Maui. I'm 57 years old, so I've lived here all my life. 57 years, yes. Yeah, so I was at home, and there's a fire in the morning. And for some reason, my husband asked me not to go to work, so I didn't go to work. And then he came home at about noon and said, I'm going to take a nap, which he normally does. And while he was napping, I started to just pack several items, thinking I was coming back to the house. And then when he woke up, he looked out and he says, oh, the fire's like moving really fast. And so he said, I'll be right back. I'm like, where are you going? He says, I'm going to go downstairs to check on what his brother and everyone else was doing.
When I came out, I looked at the mountain and yes, I seen the smoke. Yes, it was coming down. Still white yet, though. The smoke was still white, not black. But in 10 minutes, that smoke turned black and you could see like a monster, an orange monster coming up, maybe 100 yards from our home.
And then our house started shaking because the winds were so strong. I was upstairs and the house started to shake like a little bit. And I was like, oh, this is not good. So I grabbed the few items that I had and then I went downstairs and I told him, I said, hey, we gotta go. And he says, what do you mean? I said, we gotta go. I says, the fire's coming. As I was driving out, I could see the embers from the fire in the air, and there's smoke everywhere.
And you could feel, even though the smoke was still gray, you could feel the heat already. By the time I turned around and looked, our house was already in flame.
So then I see an ember fly and fall like right there, and the grass starts to burn and the house next to it's on fire. And I'm like, oh my gosh, in Jesus' name, I said a prayer. And so I drove and I said, Lord, please, get me out of here and put a shield over this truck so it doesn't catch on fire and get me to wherever I need to go.
I put the mask on, I ran down to the stoplight, the main highway. You could hear all kind of explosion. Just boom, 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 boom. I was running away from the fire. With the prayers my wife had, that was protected real good. But born and raised in Lahaina for 63 years, I know my way around in Lahaina. And Lahaina was my playground. I ran down all the way down to the street my wife mentioned. I cut a couple corners, then I ran to this alley. I stood in this little cove, and standing next to me was a homeless local brother. He was sitting there and he said, oh, uncle, some major wind, eh? I said, not only the wind, some major fire too. So when I said, you know what, we gotta go, bro, he said, oh, good luck, uncle. So I ran out and just hoping nothing hit me in the back of my head.
And then he went and knocked on people's cars to tell them, get out of your car. The fire's coming, and some people are like, no, we're good. He goes, no, the fire's coming.
Knocked on that window, I said, we gotta get out. The fire's right there. And they said, no, we're going to wait for the traffic open up. I said, no, don't wait. As soon as I said that, the white gray smoke turned black. I ran towards the harbor, Lahaina Harbor. I turned around about 20, 30 yards. The flame went through that alley. And because of the wind, because of the angle of the building, that was like a funnel. The fire was like a torch. Just came over cars, and then you'd see all the doors open. Boom! People just scattering. I don't know where some went. I know a lot of them was following us.
And he had a plan. He needed to get to the harbor because his eyes were burning and he needed to rinse his body from all that smoke and everything.
As I sat there and just looking and thinking, my family, my friends, my Lahaina town, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the new dock that the Lahaina County had built, they had a filling station there. Flammable square gas tank. Boom! You should have seen the people. Everybody was shaking. I ran into the Camturd school area, which is totally destroyed. ran in there, climbed the fence, ran all the way down to the end of the school, sat there and watching people. And I'm just going in awe. I'm just going, oh my God, this is not real.
And I didn't know. I got to the courtyard, and then my daughter met me there, and my niece and my nephew. And I called my life group leader, and I says, I don't know where my husband is. I says, and she says, well, you know what you do? I said, yeah, I'm going to start praying right now. You know, and as I prayed, I asked the Lord to please reveal to me where my husband is, because I don't know where he is, but Lord, you know where he is. And he revealed to me 2 angels, wingspan to wingspan, looking for my husband. You know, and then when I got the call from my son saying, Dad didn't make it out of the fire. You know, I saw Uncle Tom, but Dad's not with him. And I said, no. At first I was like, what do you mean he's not with him? They were together. And my son said, no, he's not. And I said, and I had to stop for a moment because that was a distraction, because I was in intercessory prayer for him. And I said, no, Dustin. I said, you catch the vision that God just gave me a little while ago. See 2 angels flying wingspan to wingspan looking for Dad. That's a vision you catch, and you start praying, and you get your 2 little girls to start praying because they know how to pray. And that's what you need to see, because nobody told us Dad didn't make it. We stayed at the Marriott, and I told my son, I said, we're not going to sleep because Dad needs our prayers. And we stayed there and until 10 o'clock at night. Then they asked everybody that weren't a guest to leave, you know, but God again. Because then they said, you know what, your family come back after everyone's gone and we'll give you pillows and blankets. You know, and God was with us every step of the way. Every step of the way.
I mean, it was just like chasing us. I moved up another 100 yards and sat on this this concrete wall. That's where the guy came. That's where this angel, whatever you want to call him, or this homeless guy came.
After we were reunited and he shared his story, he said, you know what? He says, I was running through the fire and then I could feel my skin blistering or bubbling. And he said, and then all of a sudden I felt a shield, you know? And then he said there was a homeless boy. Uncle, how are you? How's everything going? Do you need help? That guided him and everybody else behind them, 100-some people. This homeless boy, he knew where to stop, what homes had water so he could rinse his eyes out. He had empty water bottles, you know. And then my husband was like, man, I lost my Hoka shoes. I didn't use my undershirts, all these things. And then the boy said, oh, Uncle, looks like you lost a lot. And he says, what about you? He said, oh, I just bought a gallon of fresh water to drink, my sleeping bag, and my recycles. And then my husband was like, bro.
The psalmist says, whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart, for he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all of your ways.